Welcome back to another episode of the 3 over 32 podcast. And today we're going to focus more about fantasy football related topics. And then we're going to bring up a little bit about our teams again in the preseason, what we've been seeing so far. And then we're going to talk about a little bit of the other teams in the rest of the league. Let's get started.
Oh yeah, brother. I just wanted to just dive right into it. The
Yeah, let's dive it.
preseason.
Let's dive right into it.
Let's dive into it, brother.
First 2 weeks of preseason have been, a little skeptical around the league, at least for me being a Vikings fan. I do love the aspect of us winning our first two fucking preseason games. Great. Just got to do that during the regular season now if we can actually figure it out. Um, Logically, I don't really see any major, I guess, problems or changes during the NFL besides the new kickoff, which is absolutely ridiculous. Like, what are we talking about this kickoff? The kickoff's treacherous.
So I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it. I feel like there's going to be a lot more explosive, like nice big plays on kickoffs that are just going to, set the tone for a lot of games, which I'm hoping for. But
I agree.
don't know.
I think it depends. I think it depends on the teams, but again, it's a weird format. It's something that we're gonna have to get used to. But I agree with you, Matt. It's definitely mixed reviews from me. It's just gonna take time for us to get used to be honest. But I can see the potential for big plays for sure, for sure.
It's really like a punt return now. So
It almost
I don't know.
mirrors what if you got a safety, the kind of kickoff from a
Yeah.
safety, where they're a lot closer. Which
Well,
again, I don't think is a bad thing.
I'm glad you brought that up because the Vikings actually had a safety to our last game against the Cleveland Browns, and the landing zone of where the ball should land was, I believe, the same proximity of the landing zone on the kickoff. The line was just brought up to, I think, the 35, I think,
Yeah,
which is kind of
yeah,
like
it's on the
a
safety. It's
little
a
weird.
35. Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
little weird to me, and I'm just like, all right, I can deal with it. I can see the potential of big plays, yeah, but I haven't seen it yet. You know, we haven't seen a kickoff return for a touchdown yet. And usually you see them early in the preseason. If if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I think they're making football kind of soft. But that's just me. Either way, Vikings have 2 wins under our belt going into week one. A lot of other teams that I'm looking out for as well, like Chicago whooped Cincinnati's ass this past week too. I mean, it is preseason. The Giants, brother, brother, I've been saying this. I've been saying this about the Giants.
I mean, you want to okay, let's get right into it then. Right right now, as it's been the
Yeah.
last 6 years is it's all about Daniel Jones. One side Giants fandom is all about supporting him. The other side is about he's been terrible since his rookie year. We want to get him out. But the reality of it is that we know who he is. We know he's not terrible. I don't think he's an awful quarterback that just will make you lose games all the time. Like, no, I don't think he's like that. But at the same time, I don't think he's a quarterback that's going to help you win games either. So that's just how he is. But the one positive I think that you could take out of their last game against Houston is that they're going to push the ball down the field. Daniel Jones had a couple deep balls. So I just generally talking about the game, they're going to push the ball down the field. The O-line is good, a lot better than it's been probably in the past decade so far, even though they didn't, Texans weren't starting their outside defensive ends. But you could take a positive still out of the O-line. Defense is going to be good. Pass rush look decent. And it's really a lot of the stuff about that game is just things we've seen during the offseason in terms of secondary is going to be poor. A lot needs to work in favor of that defensive line causing pressure to help that secondary out. And you know, I'm still hopeful for a decent season. And as much as I want to just destroy Daniel Jones right now, which I literally did during the game. I'm texting you guys. I'm like, you guys are right.
Yeah.
Like, why do I even try to support this dude anymore? I've kind of settled now down to reality, thinking, okay, like it's one preseason game. They're gonna push the ball down the field, and we got to just see what happens. And I just have to trust Dable and his process with how he's going to treat Daniel Jones in this offense, or how he's going to use Daniel Jones in this offense, throwing the ball downfield, taking shots. So I'm happy about Malik Neighbors, and yeah, we'll see what happens next preseason game against the Jets. I hope the starters play again. I think if Daniel Jones sits that game, it'll be a big problem. I think he needs more reps, so we'll see what happens with that. But overall, I mean, I'm more optimistic how the offense might look, even though Daniel Jones sucked, than I was coming into the season, knowing that it's going to be a different offense. So that's all I can really say right now. We'll see what happens in next week. So
Gotcha.
Right.
Gotcha. I mean, hey, it's all fair enough, and we had our banters from time in and time out about the Giants and the Vikings as week one's approaching. We'll get into that more and more live on the tailgate. We're going to be live doing this. It's just part of the fandom, I guess.
it is.
I respect the backing of him because you see where I'm at. I'll give Will to speak, and then I'll go into, I guess, the Viking scary hours that happened the past 7 days of my life. So, Will,
Yeah.
take it on, man, with Cincinnati.
Yeah, man. I mean, listen, we're 0-2 in the preseason. We got blown out by the Bears the other night. Personally, a few worries for me. I mean, a lot of worries for me. Like Matt, you said with the Giants, I think the O-line looks definitely a lot better, which is something that I've been calling for a number of years. Amirius Mims, a lot of guys have been stepping up and protecting. But the problem is definitely our secondary. Our secondary looked pathetic all game against Chicago. It was getting torn apart. And even when Caleb Williams, he made some plays, but even when Caleb Williams was not playing, they look pathetic. And it's going to be, I think it could be an ongoing problem all year. Hopefully we can bring someone in soon. But they were getting torn apart all game. And the other thing that really concerns me is going into this season again, I think the question mark has to go around Joe Burrow. I don't really know how recovered he is because he looked very protective of his own body, and I get that coming off a wrist, coming off the ligament wrist injury that he had. I don't know if it's the preseason and they were kind of telling him to just be as cautious as he possibly can, but he looked a little bit rattled. He looked a little bit off. I think in the third preseason game coming up next week, he needs to have more repetitions, get back into the flow of the game, and go from there. But you can't sit here and tell me that I'm not worried, because I am. I definitely think it could be a lingering thing. I hope it's not, but I definitely think that it could be. So for sure, going down the stretch, we need to give him as much protection as we possibly can and avoid at all costs re-aggravating that injury if it can be re-aggravated. We have a couple of injuries as well on the O-line. Chris Evans got hurt, as well as offensive tackle Deontay Smith. They both got thrown on the IR right away. You know what I mean? So it's like going down the stretch with this team. I've been saying it since we've started this podcast, man. It's really going to come down to, can the Cincinnati Bengals stay healthy and can they protect Joe? And so far in the preseason, it just, I don't know. I'm getting less optimistic with how things are being run on offense, to be honest with you, as well as, like I said, the secondary is in shambles right now. So it's a lot of younger guys. We'll see what happens, but we need to come prepared for week one at New England. So we'll see. We'll see, man.
I heard that Joe Burrow is getting limited. Well, not limited, but they're keeping track or reducing the amount of reps he's getting during training camp. Which is kind of worrying that's kind of crazy to me.
It is. It is worrying, especially because he had the injury, he had the surgery all the way back in November, which is a long stretch of time.
I didn't know they're limiting his reps. That's crazy.
I heard about that they were doing.
Yeah, I think partly that's definitely because Zach Taylor definitely wants to keep him protected, obviously for the season, but it's it's a double-edged sword, right? You want to protect your quarterback. You want to make sure that he's good to go for week 1, but at the same time, you don't want him to overexert himself and have the possibility of re-aggravating the injury that, again, the Bengals have been notorious for not disclosing how deep of an injury he has or the main players on our team have. Kind of like
Yep.
Miami did with Tua, right? They're not forthcoming with how aggravated these players actually
Same
are,
with the
which
Giants.
I don't which I
Same
don't
thing.
like. I think you need to be as transparent as you possibly can. So it's going to be really interesting how much he plays week 3 in the preseason and how many offensive snaps he gets. But like I said, so far what I've seen from the offensive line, it's definitely improved. It's definitely better, but we have to just go one step at a time here, man. I don't know. It's definitely worrisome. I as a Bengals fan, I'm definitely worried. Without a doubt,
Yeah.
I'm definitely very, very worried. So we'll see what happens week 1, man. But I don't know. After seeing that against the Bears, I don't know, man. I don't know. Putting up
I
not even
I
an
mean
offensive touchdown, I
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'd rather be in your shoes and have to be too cautious about injuries than have being put in that track that I was in during the times I heard JJ McCarthy's meniscus tear, Jordan Addison's problems with his ankle, TJ Hawkinson now being extended more or prolonged longer out of the season based off of his ACL tear. Dude, the Vikings this past week have torn me up and also shined a little bit of light on me. But let me tell you, when I heard about JJ McCarthy, I was ready to just throw up everywhere. I was ready. And then within the next couple hours, Jordan Addison goes up for a contested ball over Delpit, comes down, tweaks it, and then, of course, Sleeper hit me with the news of saying he's getting carted off the field, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. Man.
It's been rough for you guys. I definitely think obviously we don't like seeing injuries. We don't like seeing people get hurt, but especially rookies, man. I mean, JJ's played what, one drive of
One,
meaningful NFL football so far. So
no, he
it's
played
He's
two
21
quarters.
though. He's 21.
I listen,
I mean,
listen, and I agree, dude. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it just sucks now because, Greg, I know I was talking to you about this. It becomes a faction of like you guys did last year when Kirk Cousins got hurt. If Sam Darnold's not rocking, do you bring someone else in like a Josh Dobbs who caught fire mid-season? Like, are you looking for other potential outcomes to win games down the
So
stretch?
this is what I
It's
was
it's a
getting into. This is what I was getting into. We just signed Matt Corral. Matt Corral, great.
I didn't know he still played. That's crazy.
We
Wow.
have Matt Corral. He's the one who caused the safety for us against Cleveland. We also have major news for our secondary. I also want to bring up the 3 interceptions that were caused against that last preseason game against Cleveland. Great. My young defensive studs out there in the secondary, love them. And now with the newest addition of Stephon Gilmore coming to Minnesota Purple, that's huge for us. That's huge. We don't have it yet, and I mean, we needed it with somebody. We have Byron Murphy. We have some more young talent, like I just said, and now coming in with I guess, workhorse of a vet. We saw what he did in Dallas. We saw how many accolades he's won in New England. I don't know where else he's been. He's been to Carolina, Buffalo. I mean, he's been an all around
it's
great cornerback,
it's a good vet to have. It's a good vet to have for sure.
and we're not overpaying him. It's 1 year, 10 mil. I'll take
Yeah.
it. Going back to your point, I do think basically, we will definitely have to go after someone if Sam Darnold's shutting down. If he's on fire and Kevin O'Connell does not like what Josh McCown is doing for the quarterback room and Sam Darnold's just blowing it, we're probably going to go for a nasty trade of some sort, trying to, what I've heard, we've inquired about Derek Carr. We've also acquired about different quarterbacks such as Aiden O'Connell in Las Vegas. Also heard about reunion with Case Keenum. I mean, we could hear all the different stretches that are propagandas and probabilities, but more likely would have to go through Adam Schefter. He's the GOAT. Or Ian Rappaport.
Yeah.
I mean, what I'll say about that whole situation with JJ again, like I said, it really is a shame, especially getting injured after he's the 11th pick overall in the draft. My thing here, Greg, again, I talked to you about it, is like not only now is JJ going to have to come into year 2 and prove that he's an NFL starting quarterback, he's going to have to prove that he can be able to still compete at a high enough level coming off of an injury. Which is not necessarily a terrible thing because he's going to be in Minneapolis all year. He's going to be learning the offense. He's going to be around the guys all year. But my thing with what I wanted to pose to you was year 2, no matter where he is he going to have to get thrown into the fire coming off of this injury year 2?
I don't think there's going to be thrown into a fire, perhaps. I think he'll be in a much better situation knowing the playbook in and out, seeing what the players do on the field first-handedly. He's still going to probably do what Aaron Rodgers did. Torn meniscus, you can put pressure on it. He already had surgery and it's fully repaired. He can go and pass the ball, which they'll work him into, work his benchmarks again. So just to run back this whole question, I think he will have to be in week 1 starting in 2025. He will be throwing that ball to Justin Jefferson. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. He'll probably play the first drive of the preseason, maybe once or twice in out of the 3 games, but this dude's going to be week 1, 2025. There's no, I would not give that a second thought. And if I do, there has to be something else that, crazy occurred. But logically, it's Minnesota's going with J.J. McCarthy. That's their 100% golden boy and future for that franchise.
Yeah.
No matter where we end up in the draft. I mean, we could trade our pick or we can go after someone else. Who knows? More talent coming out of the draft, but college football is a little weird. You can't really look at scouts super early. You have to look at them like probably, I would say, relatively later on in the season, maybe like week 12.
Yeah, November, December type. Yeah.
Right for the playoffs, the bowl games. That's where all the rising stars happen. Either way, scary hours were not great for me over here. Definitely not in purple. Loved some of the outcomes I've seen, but week 1 is upon us. Only a few more days left. I think it's less than
3 weeks, man.
Yep.
Less than 3 weeks. We're gonna be out there in less than 3 weeks.
We're coming at it, and as Matt said earlier on to introduce this podcast, we are going to go straight into fantasy football. For all my fantasy lovers out there that listen to this, we're just going to rip it off right now. The best of each round that we think, and this is how I want to just to portray it. I'm going to say probably we all know who's going to be in the first round, but give me y'all's intake of who is the best person at whatever pick to draft in the first round of your fantasy football draft. The best person on paper that you believe is going to have your first round, who's going to have another rock star year.
I'm going to go Tyreek Hill. I think Tyreek is always undervalued as not being a top 2 or 3 pick every year, which I don't understand. So I would say Tyreek Hill is the safest player to pick in that first round.
Okay.
Because McCaffrey has the injury. Possible.
Oh, he's he's on the Madden cover too. So
yeah, the Madden cover curse. There you go. And let's see, CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb. I mean, we don't know how Cowboys are going to be this year. Dak's going to throw the ball to him like crazy, but I think in terms of just consistency, knowing what this player has proven year in, year out, Tyreek is the best pick you can make in the first round, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Okay, so you can ride with Tyreek. I want to hear it from you, Will. What do you got?
For me, a guy who won me our dynasty league, a guy who's the number 1 where he is, a guy who's gonna put up big numbers. He's got Goff throwing to him. Greg, you're gonna hate this, but I got to go with Amon-Ra St. Brown, man. I think he is already cemented himself easily.
How you just started that explanation right there? You should just start wearing Detroit blue. Get that orange out of here, man.
Listen, man, I think Amon-Ra is really going to cement himself this year as a top 5 receiver, no doubt about it. He's going to catch a lot of balls. He put up consistent, we're talking about fantasy, consistent 20, 25, 30-point games per game, and he catches a lot of balls. He catches a lot of touchdowns. He's Goff's favorite guy. He's quick. He's reliable. I think that if you have Amon-Ra St. Brown on your fantasy team, if you're picking in the first round, that's a guy that you really want to have for consistent fantasy points, in my opinion, to be honest, from the wide receiver position. But if we're looking at, something other than that, with the quarterbacks, obviously, someone like Lamar, who's going to be, as always, carrying that Ravens team. But for me, it's Amon-Ra St. Brown, man. No question. He's going to be a stud for years to come.
Fair enough. I'm going to say one to hype up your boys. Jamar Chase is my lock-in number 1 this year. No matter where I'm at, if I'm number 2 through 8, 2 through 11, my eye is on Jamar Chase. That dude's going to have a nuclear year as he's approaching his contract era negotiation. I know they started and he's holding out of training camp a few times and he's not showing up to practice. He hasn't played in a preseason game. But, dude, he is going to ball this year. I believe it. Joe Burrow will be healthy and he will surpass Justin Jefferson this season. I would assume so because of the quarterback who's throwing him the ball. But my guy is going. I mean, my vote's going to Jamar Chase. I don't really have much else to say because he can do it for you, or you can just go watch a clip on YouTube after watching us talk about it.
Can I bring up another guy too that I'm really interested in? So running back wise, I think Breece Hall is the safest pick this year, running back wise. Aaron Rodgers, he's not going to be the same Aaron Rodgers. Like, it's just not going to happen. So I think they're going to have to rely on Breece Hall a little bit more in the run game this year. And Breece Hall is a really good player. I think
he's a good player.
People underestimate him. So if I'm in like that 1 to 5 draft range, I want to take a running back, I'm choosing Breece all day, even if I had the number 1 pick. Like I said before, just because McCaffrey, we don't know about the injury. I would say Breece is definitely probably the most targeted running back I would look for if I had a higher draft pick. So
I like that.
Would you say he's in PPR? He's fashionably in a first round suit.
Oh,
Does he rank right?
I think he's definitely a top 5 pick. He's probably like take a 5 or 6 on average in the first round.
Oh, he ranks at number 7. He ranks
7. Oh, so that's later than I thought. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I mean,
I think
these
that's another undervalued guy, Matt. You were saying before about Tyreek. I think it's someone that kind of gets overlooked, but I agree with you. Aaron Rodgers is not going to be the same. I mean, are they going to throw the ball? Yeah, they got weapons all over the field, but I think Breece Hall is going to get a lot of touches and a lot of carries, especially in the beginning of the season. So he's definitely, I agree, someone who could put up 20 points a game for you pretty solidly.
Yep.
That's a really good one. That's a really good one.
This is crazy. So I just looked up real quick the top players, the list and ranking. First 10 go CMC, CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Bijan Robinson. Totally forgot about that dude. This is where like dynasty comes into effect. Breece Hall for sure. Justin Jefferson, I see him going down to 8. Yes, AJ Brown and Garrett Wilson at 10. I mean, that's kind of crazy in my eyes, but some of those names are all like first round suitors. I'm definitely avoiding CMC and so on. But we'll get into that later on. We'll talk about our players on the decline. That's coming up. But now let's go best in round 2. Let me hear it. Best in round 2. Either one of you have an idea. If you don't, I can start with this as well.
For me,
go ahead, Will.
I was just going to say, for me, I was also going to stick to the running back position. It is a little bit by a running back committee down in Miami, but I like A-Chain, man. I think that's another guy who's going to get a lot of touches, not even running the ball. We know McDaniel likes to spread the ball out, and I think Tua is going to rely on A-Chain a lot in the backfield for some quick, 3rd and short, second and long kind of, running back screens or just him catching the ball in general and looking to get into the open field. So I think 18's a guy in the second round that could really, really put up numbers for you in fantasy this year for sure. I drafted him in one of my leagues, so I'm pretty hot on the A-Chain train in Miami. I think he's a very versatile player, and we could look to have him have another big year as well.
It's fair enough. I've been a big A-Chain guy. I drafted him his rookie season in our league. He helped me, win some games and also lose some games because that's how bad of a manager I was for my dynasty team. Don't look at me. A person I like, and I think it's going to be a huge year this year for him, is Davante Adams. Yes, he had a horrible year with Las Vegas last year. I think he's going to come up crazy. He's definitely a vet. He is a well presence in the NFL. In Las Vegas, they worship him. I think they set him up with a perfect situation at quarterback. Gardner Minshew, he'll definitely explode and have a better repertoire this season. And I'm going to throw another running back. I'm sorry, but I believe Saquon Barkley will be tip-top shape. And it's not to troll you, Matt. It's not to say anything. It's just Philadelphia has the weapons. You won't see Jalen Hurts run a lot. The push isn't going to happen a lot anymore because of Jason Kelce. So they're going to run that ball with a mean-headed Saquon Barkley down people's throats. And I think he's going to be probably what we see, a little bit more athletically gifted than Gus Edwards this season. He'll be your ground and pound guy, and that's how Philadelphia rolls. Those are my two. Matt, if you got something.
I have a couple. So I know, let's say we're just doing a regular PPR draft in 12-team. Taking QBs isn't always, the thing people always say to do early on, but I think Josh Allen is going to have an unreal year. They're going to have to. He's gonna exactly. Well, he was QB1 for last year for sure, but I think this year it's definitely worth picking him up in the second round. If you have like a mid to late round, second round pick, and he's still around, I think it's totally worth taking him as the first QB off the board this year. They're gonna really lean on him this year to make a lot of plays, and I think he easily repeats as quarterback one this year. And then I had a few options here. So first person that came to mind was Puka, obviously, because man, it's just is he gonna stay around in the first and the second round, or is he gonna be taken late in the first? I guess it depends on what type of draft you have. I still really like Puka. And if he falls into that early second round, people shouldn't underestimate him. And they should take what we saw last year as a really positive sign that he's going to be still getting a ton of targets. And I think he's going to be wide receiver one for them. I know they'll be healthy this year. So Matt Stafford's, their whole roster is going to be healthy. What's his name?
Cooper Kupp.
Cooper's going to be healthy. And Cooper Kupp is getting old. He's gonna be getting a ton of targets as well, but I think this year Puka really he's gonna prove to everyone that he'll be their number one wide receiver. So
I'm gonna challenge you with that. With
sure.
Such a downfall of Cooper Kupp last season, I think Cooper Kupp's season to rise back up is this year.
That's what everyone's saying. I could see both happening though, for sure. I could see both happening.
Yeah.
Puka Nacua, it's just like I can't see it. I can't because now they know the guy. They know what he's about. They know how he runs. They know how he plays. And Sean McVay is not really one to change a lot. So I can see him not being that great to start out the season. He's definitely he's on my players on the decline list, early decline, and then maybe a subtle, kind of like a Davante Adams last season. I see that being a break-even type player.
I have one more name too. Just throw out there. Derrick Henry. I think Derrick Henry might have a bounce back year. Well, not bounce back year. He was. I know Will's shaking his head.
I know what you did.
Well, I think Derrick Henry's gonna have a good year. I mean, the Ravens are going to run the ball. Like, that's what they're going to do this year. We talked about how they don't have the strongest wide receiver core. And Lamar Jackson, he's going to. I mean, is he going to run the ball a lot? I don't know. I think they're going to try to, keep walking him back from the idea of just taking off with the ball and running a lot. And that's why they picked up Derrick Henry. They're going to lean on him a lot in the run game, and he's going to play every down. So I think Derrick Henry's going to have a really good year.
Listen, man, look, man, you know my thoughts on Derrick Henry. It's a wild in terms of fantasy. He is wildly inconsistent. I think he's going to pick up most of his points on that Ravens offense from third and short situations, kind of just getting in between tackles and forcing the ball through the middle. I don't know, man. I would personally stay away from Derrick Henry, but that's just me after he kind of was wildly inconsistent last year, and I traded him away in our dynasty league to I traded him to you, right?
Yeah, you trading the
Yeah.
Greg.
So listen, dude, I don't have any love lost for Derrick Henry. I just don't. I don't know, man. I think his time might be swiftly approaching here in right now in Baltimore. So we'll see, but I don't know. I don't see him picking up crazy amounts of points per week.
I do. Sorry, dog. You gave him to me. He's on my team. I'm coming for that trophy. That's all I'm saying. I think he's going to be
all right, bro.
He's going to be real.
Good luck when you're relying on Monday Night Football and he drops a whopping 3 points and you want to absolutely jump off a bridge. So I'll leave. I will leave that stress to you, bro, because I can't deal with that shit anymore. I can't deal with it, dude.
All right, let's bring this back to what we were doing. We were doing before. I would say it's another few names like coming out of this draft that you should definitely be high on. Jalen Waddle, I think, is going to have another great year, or I think he's going to actually have his best year as a Miami Dolphin. Nico Collins is another huge name that a lot of people don't really want to think about, but once that name's on the board, if you don't take him, I'm coming for you in your nightmares. I wouldn't be opposed if you took, the Travis Etienne and Michael Pittman Jr.'s as well. But in a regular PPR draft, a lot of quarterbacks aren't going to go back with what Matt said before. Seeing a Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts leave round 2 to round 3 is not a bad decision. It's not. Talent-wise, it's all there. I will say someone I am super high on because of the quarterback is Drake London.
Yes, I was going to mention him.
Down
yes.
in Atlanta, yeah.
Because of the quarterback, it will probably push him to a top 12 wide receiver of the year.
I was going to say like top 15, top 10, like close to that. So.
I go 12 as his limit. I don't think he's going to go lower than 15, but definitely high above there. I don't see him not. Kirk loves throwing that thing deep, and if Drake can actually catch it and actually get under these balls that Kirk throws, that makes a wide receiver be so, valuable in fantasy football. And then looking in the same division, polar opposite, Chris Olave, avoid the hell away from him. Now let's jump into our, players on the decline. Then we'll go into sleepers, and we'll talk about a little rookie action. Chris Olave, definitely a no for me. He talked poorly against his quarterback and his team when asked about, do you think the Saints are good this year? Nah. He did that. He dead ass said that in a interview. In an interview after practice. Do you think the Saints are good this year? Nah, we're terrible. That's what he said. Dude, I can't believe. Well, I mean, he is the GOAT for saying that, but their defense is good, but look at the division they're in.
Yeah,
it's a poor misnomer. And if Derek Carr goes to Minnesota, which could happen, I think New Orleans is a little in shambles. Besides Alvin Kamara,
possibly.
Any other names you guys have on your decline list? Players?
I definitely have. Go ahead, Matt. You.
I have Keenan Allen. I think, first of all, I don't know necessarily if he wanted to go to the Bears. I mean, he wanted to get big money. He's 32. And I think that stacked wide receiver room is going to limit targets to at least one person. And I mean, let's be honest, DJ Moore and Rome Odunze are going to be the key wide receivers on that team. Keenan Allen, I think, is coming in as more of a insurance that they will have enough wide receivers to make plays just in case someone gets hurt. Also as a veteran piece for the team, which I think is huge nowadays, especially in a wide receiver room for teams. You want a veteran there, especially for a rookie quarterback. Like, like names go past my head. Sorry. Like Caleb, sorry. But yeah, I think he's gonna be. I think Keenan Allen's gonna have more of a down year this year. Last year he had a great year considering the injuries and stuff. So
I can definitely see it. I can definitely see that.
yeah, he's getting old. It's gonna be a very competitive wide receiver room, like I said. So he's probably the first guy I thought about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't. Other than that, I'm not really sure who else could really have a down year. Last year was weird with the injuries.
I got 3.
Oh, you have 3?
I told you.
Got you.
Yeah.
I have. I was gonna say, for me, I think someone that could definitely have a down year just because we've seen it in the past. I'm a big fan of him, but he's been wildly inconsistent throughout the years, especially when he gets some money. And I think that's going to be Baker Mayfield, man. I think anyone on that Tampa Bay roster, I just don't. I don't see the production being there like it was last year. I don't see them making the playoffs, and I don't see Baker having a great year. Same thing with Mike Evans as well. I would put both of them in the same kind of bracket with this. I don't see Tampa Bay having, like I said, just the production and numbers that they had last year. We've seen it with Baker Mayfield when he had that great rookie year in 2018 in Cleveland, and then the next year he just wildly falls off. He kind of resurrects it a little bit in Los Angeles. In Carolina, he wildly falls off. So he had a great year last year, but until he does it 2 years in a row, I would stay away from the Tampa Bay boys, to be honest with you.
I kind of agree, but at the same time, they're getting Chris Godwin back, and Chris Godwin is insane, dude. I think Chris Godwin might have a good year, to be honest, and might even surpass Mike Evans in terms of numbers, what Mike Evans did last year. But I mean, yeah, I could see it. I think Baker's very consistent, though. Sometimes we haven't seen a year from him that's been like atrocious. He was on the Browns too, which doesn't help his case. But I mean, he had a great year last year.
I agree with that, but like I said, I need to see some more consistency with him. So I would say I would stay away from anybody in Tampa Bay, and then I have him on my dynasty league. And I have a bad feeling about this because, again, I think he's easily he could be a top 10 receiver, but I have no faith in Geno Smith in Seattle. So I didn't want to say this, but one part of my brain says that DK Metcalf could have a down year as opposed to what he's had before, just on the fact that I don't think Geno Smith is going to be able to throw him the fucking ball, dude. I mean, they got him, they got Jackson Smith-Njigba, which is great. But in terms of, if we're looking at pure production, I don't think the production that he's had in previous years is going to match what he's going to have this year. Just on that sense, I think Seattle is kind of in a whirlwind where at the end of this year, I think they're going to have to go in the different direction at quarterback, whether that's the draft, free agency, whatever they do. I don't think Geno Smith is there for the longevity. So
they have Sam Howell
to see what
they have. Sam Howell.
Sure.
I mean, it's there. That's your bridge quarterback.
But do I think he gets touches? Obviously, he's going to be their number one guy. He is their number one guy. But I think in terms of overall production, it's not going to be what it has been the last 3 seasons. But that's just me. I didn't want to say it, but some part of me.
I'm gonna work with that same thing. This is what feeds into my concept of, our friend Nick Diamond also has hyped him up to me. JSN's going to have a great year. I think he is. He's probably going to outperform DK Metcalf and take away from DK Metcalf. And there's no more Tyler Lockett, or Lockett will fall down to probably wide receiver 3 in Seattle if you're talking fantasy wise. But that works to the sense of seeing DK Metcalf fall. I'm hearing a lot that Metcalf might have another great season, but really based off of what the QB situation out in Seattle is. Geno being how old he is, and comparatively to Sam Howell being how young he is and what he did with Washington last season. It's very up in the air in that sense. So I
Agreed.
can see it.
Agreed.
I can see
Agreed.
DK Metcalf.
That's my question mark. Like I said, do I think that he's a great wide receiver and like could be in that top 10 contention? Yes, obviously he's a freak of nature. He always has been since he came out of Ole Miss.
Yeah.
But like it's the longevity in the quarterback situation and the rest of that offense in Seattle that I don't
We
have
might
crazy faith in.
we might have to make a phone call out to Seattle if you know what I'm saying. Well, to bring him in and here
you're gonna have to phone him live, bro.
we're
I
gonna
know
have
what
to
you're
phone this
talking about.
dude live.
Yeah, dude.
We might need to.
Because I think he'll have some different opinions if I ever said that in live. So yeah, I know who you're talking about, dude.
Before I lose these other players I have for, I guess, players on a decline, Stephon Diggs, 110% will have a decline year. He's not going to be a top 10 wide receiver in my eyes. Personally, Tank Dell and Nico are going to overshadow him. And that's how I see it. Byron Williams, now hear me out. Hear me out. I think he's going to have a bust of a year. He's going to be highly drafted, highly selected in the draft of your fantasy football draft. Maybe probably on the turnaround in the second round, he's going to be drafted. And I don't think he's going to fit those shoes as a starting running back for your fantasy football team, despite and barring any injuries. Only reason
Okay.
why I say this is because the O-line took a lot of hits. We haven't seen a running back be that spontaneous in his career path in the NFL, where he was stat, benched, rookie, then somewhat of stardom, then greatness, and now we're on the decline of his what it is. Always in Los Angeles, besides the God-loving Todd Gurley era, I don't think the Rams have a good running back history in that sense. As the most recent, you can say Eric Dickerson, you can say Todd Gurley, sure. But I don't think Kyron Williams is one of those greats. That's just me. That's my, I guess,
I think
crazy.
I would only disagree because of volume. I mean, he almost averaged 20 carries a game last year.
Is this fair? But
I would say because of volume, I would disagree. But I can see where you're coming from. I mean, I can see where you're coming from. I still think he's amazing. I think he's a great player.
That volume also speaks a lot of verbiage to injury. And I don't want to wish upon. I do not want to wish upon any injury, as you know what I've been through. Another name in the running back era, Josh Jacobs. Avoid him. Do not touch him.
Really?
I don't think he's going to be any type of greatness in Green Bay.
I was going to bring him up as a sleeper pick.
They're going to share that backfield with three players. AJ Dillon's still there. The rookie that they just drafted, and now Josh Jacobs will probably have either toss plays, screen plays, and a little bit of the inside dive. But you want us to talk about sleepers? We can go with sleepers. Give me your rebuttal about Josh Jacobs.
I mean, he led the league in rushing yards, I think, only 2 years ago.
Yes,
he was,
and that was for Las Vegas.
It was for Vegas, exactly. So he's going into a lot better offense, and yeah. I think we're kind of undervaluing what type of talent he is. Even like we got to remember the type of player he was 2 years ago. Last season he didn't play. I'm pretty sure was it injury last year? Is the reason he didn't play?
No, he played. He played last season.
He missed. Didn't he miss a few first half of the season?
I think it was contract.
Was it contract?
It was contract.
Okay.
Or it was injury. I have to dial in.
Yeah, I forget.
Look that up.
But I mean, I think Josh Jacobs still is one of the premier backs in the league, and Green Bay going out of their way to acquire him, I think should say enough about how they may use him. And to think that he's not going to be a main part of the offense, I think is a little undermining his value. So yeah,
I mean,
I still think Josh Jacobs is really good. So
was Aaron Jones ever the number one running back in Green Bay? Was he ever getting the full amount of touches in Green Bay?
no, but I think that's because they used him in only certain situations, and when they did use him, he was very important for screen passes. He was very important for draw plays, and Josh Jacobs will be used the same way. And I think Josh Jacobs right now is still one of the top 5 backs in the league when healthy. So to think he might not, to think that he'll not perform to his standard is as I'm not sure if you're valuing him enough. So.
Well, I mean, he's on Green Bay. Why do you think I'm going to value this?
That's true. No, you're right. You're right. I get you. No, but still, yeah, I like Josh Jacobs though. I think he's a good 4th round pick if he's around there, 4th, 5th.
That's fair. That's fair.
And then I had 2 other names. I think Debo is a good pick, maybe in like the 3rd round if he's around there. Debo's he's had a good year last year. The Ayuk case helps him, and he's going to be Debo. He's going to get the ball in the backfield. They're going to make a lot. They're going to have a lot of plays just for him, and and he's still going to break tackles and get yards after the catch, which is key for PPR and fantasy. And then the other player I had was Jaden Daniels. I think we all kind of see Jaden Daniels as a great fantasy asset for his ability to run. A lot of explosive plays are going to come out of Washington. He has a great arm, and they're going to. I think he's going to have a good rookie season, potentially offensive rookie of the year. I know Caleb's going to be the guy everyone's looking at, but Jaden Daniels is going to be right up there, I think.
That's all because of media, but I agree. Jaden Daniels should have a brighter light shined upon him in Washington.
Yeah,
but that's just the way I feel.
I feel the same way.
You can't tell me different.
Yeah, I'm with you.
That also reaches into one of my sleepers, but well, go ahead. I haven't heard yours yet. Let me hear this.
I have a couple. I would say a guy that I think could be a little bit more consistent, but I've had him in fantasy the past couple years is James Conner out in Arizona. I think he is going to be getting some consistent touches, and he's shown that he can break big runs and score some good touchdowns out there. So I think they're going to be spreading the ball out to him quite a bit. I mean, he's a solid running back. Again, 3rd, 4th round guy that you can pick up in a draft. That's exactly what I did, and he helped me win the league last year. So I think James Conner is a great name to look at if you're looking at a running back. Another name that I want to bring up, we've talked about a little bit, and I don't know if he's necessarily a sleeper at this point, but it's someone who I can see just very much cementing themselves as a top 10 wide receiver, and that's Tank Dell. I've always been super high on Tank Dell. I think that, is he
top
a 1st
10?
or 2nd? Yes.
You said top 10. Wow.
I mean,
there's going to be two
Texans
that's top 10?
I really could see him cementing even more than Nico, even more than Stephon Diggs. I can see him running the show in Houston under that offense. It's connecting with CJ Stroud. I've loved him as a player ever since high school, to be honest with you. Funny story. I thought about this the other day. Funny story. I don't know if anybody knows really from our audience, but I went to college in Daytona Beach. And one Friday night in 2018, me and my roommates decided to go to just a random local high school football game because we had nothing better to do. And he went to Mainland High School, which is across the street from where I went to college. And I remember going to this high school football game, and I was like, it was packed out. And I remember just talking to some random guy in the crowd. I was like, oh, who's good on this team? And he's like number 8, Tank. And I was like, that's his name? What? That's his name? Dude, this guy goes for 5 touchdowns in a game. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? That was Tank Dell, bro. I saw him play in high school in 2018. He committed to the University of Houston, and now he's on the Texans. I think it's just a cool tidbit from me, but I think he's going to really cement himself. He's obviously coming off the injury, which sucks.
Didn't he get shot?
What?
No, who? Oh, what was his
No,
injury?
it was
He shot.
fibia.
He did
Oh,
get
I'm thinking
shot
someone
though.
else. Yeah, that's what I was
He
thinking.
no. Tank Dell did get shot this
Okay,
offseason.
Yes.
and he came back
But I
quick
will.
too. It's crazy.
He came back real quick, bro. He ate those bullets, man.
Yeah.
But but I will say, again, it's borderline sleeper or not sleeper, but it's not really a guy that I've seen get picked up in the second or third round. So I think that's someone who can really take the leap this year from outside looking in cementing himself into a top 10 position. But again, I'm hot on the guy, so I would definitely pick him up. And then the third and last one for me, I would say, is we've talked about the rookie class with Marvin Harrison Jr. and we've talked about Malik Neighbors a lot. Obviously, with Matt, you being a Giants fan, but I think Rome Odunze is right up there in that conversation. I think he's poised to have a really big year. And again, he's another guy that could really cement himself in Chicago as a number one receiver for years to come. I think that's someone, especially if you're looking in a dynasty league, you need to go and grab him. I think he's a great wide receiver, and it's someone who's kind of taken a back seat to some of the other names in this draft. But I think he is really going to be good in Chicago.
He made some big plays in the preseason.
Yeah, against us, dude. Last
Yeah,
week, yeah,
he looked good.
he's a good player. He's got great hands. He can run a pretty crisp, clean route. I firmly believe that Odunze is going to be a force for years to come. So, especially like I said, if you're looking at a dynasty league, dude, that is someone you have to look at as like a third, fourth, fifth round, depending if he's still on the board, to go and pick up for sure.
That's I can see it. I can see about that about Dunzier, but it's just I don't want to ever say a bear is good in my list. I don't ever want
Let's
to
get
say
I
used
know,
to it.
bro. I know. Yeah.
Get used to it, bro.
Um,
Caleb's gonna be running that division, bro.
yeah, then the greatest thing to Chicago since Michael Jordan. That is a load of that is a load. Anyway, let me go with my little few sleepers, then we can go straight into these rookies real quick. I mean, I have a bunch of sleepers that you can't really say are sleepers, but they kind of are. Perry McLaurin being the number one in Washington, which also leads to my rookie sensation of Luke McCaffrey. The Washington's wide receiver room will have a surge this season with Jay and Daniels as the quarterback. I think that's going to be huge for them. I think any wide receiver buy in stock, Jahan Dotson, McCaffrey, McLaurin, do it all. Buy all three if you really want to in a dynasty or a PPR league. Um, the comeback player of the year voucher for me, Anthony Richardson, is a sleeper. I think if you can get him in, a round 8 type setting, or if you are the 8th pick and are in a dynasty league and you get him at pick 8 like I did, um, definitely go for it. He is a mobile quarterback. He's big. The only thing is that he might be on the fridge for being injury prone this season. That's only the chance that you're taking with Anthony Richardson. I mean, we can say Christian Kirk. We can say these other guys like, Kenneth Walker and such. But I'm going to give love for the running backs right now. Tajay Spears in Tennessee. I think he's going to be a problem. Tony Pollard's there, and all we know is Tony Pollard being a halfback toss kind of guy. And then you're going to hate me, Will, but Jalen Warren. I think he's going to have a breakout season, probably surpass Najee, and the Steelers don't got to pay Najee's contract. They can keep Jalen. I don't think they keep both of them. I think, actually, correct me if I'm wrong, Will, aren't they both on there up for contract this season?
They
Correct me if I'm
Yeah,
wrong.
I know Najee for sure. Najee
I don't
is.
think
Yeah,
Warren is. I think they
I don't
drafted
think
Warren last year, didn't they?
I think
Oh,
2
2 years
years
ago.
ago.
Oh,
Yeah, I know Najee is for sure this year.
yeah, he is.
For
Matt,
sure. So yeah, and listen, it'd be yeah. I agree with you, Greg. That's yeah. I agree with that.
those two, running backs that you could possibly say, okay, they'll be a handcuff, can now be probably surpassing their star running back on the depth chart. And I'm going to go back on my same words as I said last podcast and drop the mic. Aaron Jones, if the Vikings haven't proved to you that we will run the ball this season, now you should buy into Aaron Jones stock immediately. Justin Jefferson is put down low. Jordan Addison is in the chamber, and we have Sammy Darnold throwing the ball. We are going to run this ball to the ground. So Aaron Jones, Ty Chandler, I would want anybody to go and pick them up in their draft if they want to be successful or have a successful running back room on their team this season.
Okay.
Either way, that's like, how are you going to tell me that we're not going to run the ball? That's our only success this season.
Okay, I see you.
I'm gonna be completely honest here, but now let's smack it around to the rookie sensations. I just have to put this out. I think Ladd McConkey, I think that's his name, right, for the Los Angeles Chargers.
Ladd.
Yeah, from Georgia. Yeah, from Georgia.
He should be decent.
From Georgia.
He's going to be the Puka Nacua this year.
Wow, that's
fair.
Pretty bold. I could see
He's shifty, bro. He's low key shifty, man. He's a good player down at Georgia. He won a couple natties down there.
He is winning your fantasy football.
Dude, I'm high on the Georgia boys. I'll piggyback off you, Greg. For me, it's without a doubt, I think it's gonna be Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers in Vegas. I think, dude, if you want a tight end who's versatile, that is 100%. If you're looking at a dynasty, someone who's going to be there for years to come, someone who can play the damn game, Bowers, man. I think he's going to be a dog in the NFL. Even if he doesn't stay in Vegas for his whole career, which who's to say? No matter who's throwing that ball, he's got sure hands. He can power through. He can block. He can run fast. He can run crisp, smooth routes. Bowers is a great player, man. Great player.
Can you believe that Bowers is he's now tight end 11 on the big board for fantasy PPR drafts?
That's crazy. Wow.
I
should be top 5 at least.
Wow. I think he's going to be great, man. I think he's going to be great. I really do.
I mean, I could agree with that. Brock Bowers is the boy. He's been the boy in college, and I think he's going to be the boy in Las Vegas. He's going to love it, especially with Devontae and Gardner now. A little bit of Zamir White, which I'll say my piece on Zamir White. But, I can definitely back you up on that.
My rookie pick's more like kind of a mainstream type option recently, which is Bo Nix. He's kind of getting a lot of hype recently. Also, Bo Nix was probably the most underlooked QB coming out of the draft. And
he was.
Yeah, and I also think the fit he has in Denver is going to be really good. And it seems just watching the preseason game they had, last one, they are going to play around his strength, which is like the quick passing game, getting the ball out quick, and letting the playmakers around him doing a lot of the work. So I think Bo Nix is going to be decent. I think he's not going to be the best rookie QB coming out this year, or probably not even top 3, but he's going to make a lot of noise, and I think a lot of people are going to start saying his name a lot more after this year.
Put respect on my name. Put respect on my name.
Put respect on Bo Nix.
You know who we have not talked about, and it's shocking that we have not talked about it? Well, there's 2 people. One, I'm going to say Keon Coleman in Buffalo. We rarely talked about it. And
he hasn't done much, though. I know.
He hasn't done
much. No.
And then second, Brian Thomas Jr. in Jacksonville.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a deep cut, bro. That's a good one. He's going to be. I like that. Yeah.
I think he's going to be a problem. He might have the offensive rookie of the year possibly on the radar, but that's given to a quarterback. It's going to be granted to a quarterback. So, truthfully, Brian Thomas Jr., he could be your offensive rookie of the year for fantasy football this year. I'm not lying. I think he's going to be decent. They needed a wide receiver for a deep threat with also Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram. I like it. I like it a lot. But, I mean, that kind of wraps up if anybody else has a deep shot or a deep cut in any of these rookie players.
Let's go right to our top 5 heading into week 1 right now. Let's go top 5. And I'll start. I'm guaranteeing that we'll have a similar top 5, whether that's like different order, but my top 5 right now is Chiefs, 49ers, Lions, Ravens, Texans. And I know
From
Texans.
from 1 to 5, you're doing.
Yeah. So, and
Okay.
the controversial one there would be the Texans, but I think there really is there's not many other teams offensively that could probably put up the numbers they're going to put up this year in terms of just volume of throwing the ball, explosive plays. CJ Stroud is going to have another insane year. Their defense is decent. So, yeah, that's why they're in the top 5. But the other 4, I think, are just, I probably don't have to explain much about them.
I mean,
I
that's
agree with
fair.
that.
Yeah.
That's definitely a good one. I would personally, I'm not putting the Ravens up there. I just wouldn't when I'm looking at the rosters and the depth at a lot of these other teams. So for me, I have starting with 5. I have the Houston Texans. Again, I threw them in there. I don't really see a world where they don't win at least 11 games. I just don't. I think they're like you said, they're just so good offensively,
They
and
loaded
I
up.
think they loaded up. I think they're gonna be great. Number 4 is I have the 49ers. I think that's another team that, yeah, we don't know the injury, the progression of that with CMC, but I think they still have a great defense. Brock Purdy's still not showing any signs of slowing down. So I think the 49ers at 4. I have the Eagles at 3, unfortunately. I have the Eagles at 3. Again, just another juggernaut of an offense. Great defense. I hope Cooper DeJean plays. That's my boy, dude. He's our Jackie Robinson. I love that, man. He's gonna lock down he's gonna lock down your number 1 at corner. So love that.
Hell yeah.
Number 2, I have the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm not betting against them this year. I'm just not. I think as long as Mahomes and Andy Reid stay together, it's this is a dynasty. We're in the middle of it. You can't count them out. And then at 1, unfortunately, Greg, you're gonna talk hella shit about me and tell me to buy a jersey or whatever. But I have the Detroit Lions at 1. I don't really see how they decline. I think they're going to continue on. I think they're going to win 11, 12, 13 games and definitely be a contender for the Super Bowl. So I love Goff, Amon-Ra, the whole 9 yards there. So I have the Lions at 1, unfortunately, dude. That's just what it is, man. I really do.
I like that.
So.
Okay. I'll respect it. But Super Bowl, that's a little crazy. That's outlandish. That is outlandish.
Should have made it last year.
Anyway.
What do you
Should have
mean?
made it last year, dude. I don't know.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda, but they didn't. Get out of
All
here.
right.
There's that. I think going into the season for week 1, most ranked, at least top 5 for me. At number 5, I'm going to throw the Ravens. The Ravens are probably going to be another problem this season. And for the AFC North, I don't see a lot of challenges coming out of there. Maybe a little nuclear threat from Cleveland, Cincinnati, and Pittsburgh. It's really time to show it through Baltimore.
We have wildly different views on the AFC North, bro.
I mean, I just don't think it's going to be like this. Yeah. I got pretty much, I guess, all-around team, top 5 right now. Baltimore Ravens is number 5 for me. I will put the Detroit Lions at number 4. Actually, I will put the Detroit Lions at number 4 now. Respectively, I'm a Vikings fan. I will also say the Detroit Lions did show a lot. This can also be the fringe of also the Chicago Bears entry point for, 4. Getting out of the NFC North. Dallas Cowboys still have my heart at number 3. I'm not going to lie. The Dallas Cowboys are going to be a solution.
Oh, hold on. The
CeeDee
Dallas
Lamb,
Cowboys. The
Dallas Cowboys.
The biggest choke team. They are the choke team of this freaking year.
Dude,
they are
hear me out.
the number 1 choking team in the whole league.
Bro, I don't
for week 1. For week 1 right now, I think they can do it if they sign CeeDee Lamb to this $34 to $35 million a year contract.
Wait, so you have 2 NFC East teams in top 5? Because I'm guessing you have the Eagles in there.
No, I mean, I'll give the Eagles the fringe of the 5 for the Ravens.
Okay, you don't. Okay, good. At least you don't have 2 NFC East teams in the top 5. Then I'd be saying something
No.
more.
No,
But I still don't have Cowboys up there. No way.
49ers, I love them. I'm going to have to say at number 2. But, I mean, as of right now, for week 1, they could be fucking losing. They could lose their first week 1 matchup. If CMC's out, if they don't figure it out between Debo and Ayuk, I don't think they win week 1.
That should be a good game.
I really don't think they week 1. And if you think they win week 1 without those players and without the situation, then I think you're a little crazy. So, in honor of my personal liking, I think the Miami Dolphins at number 2.
I had Dolphins 6. I had Dolphins 6.
Which slides me into my number 1, and that's Kansas City Chiefs. It is. Even with the outage of Marquise Brown, I think on paper they will be the best team. I think they will logically still be a Super Bowl contender for the next 5 years. So why can't I at this year? They're my number 1. I'm not gonna lie.
Yep.
There's
I
nothing really else
like
to
the
say about
Dolphins
that.
pick. I was contemplating on putting them into my top 5 because I think people just say the Dolphins can't play in the cold weather. Like, dude, this team's insane.
I mean, it's true. It's true.
It's true, but like for them to play in the coldest playoff game in the history of NFL last year is just so unfortunate. Like, let's be honest. Like, that's so unfortunate.
Listen, I completely agree with you. I think the Dolphins lineup is stacked. I definitely would have them at like that 6th spot, like right on the fringe of 5. But yeah, until they do something past the wild card, like that was my only thing. Like I didn't put them in my top 5 because
I don't think any team beats Kansas City in that environment, dude.
No. Listen, I agree with that, and it's unfortunate they played in that environment on that day when it was. Because believe me, I remember that day. I was watching a game in Providence, Rhode Island, on a work trip, and it was like -10 below zero there. So like I couldn't imagine what it was in Kansas City. But
yeah,
the lineup is great. They can be wildly inconsistent. That's my only thing. If that team doesn't click on a Sunday, they're bad, bro. And that defense does not that defense does not hold out sometimes when it matters. So that was my only reason.
I mean, I get it. They did have the fraud call last season. They were a major factor into that. But they also had a 70-point game.
Dude, they destroyed.
When was the last time you saw an NFL team put up 70 points? Sorry for all my Broncos fans out there. I hope it doesn't bring you nightmares tonight. But that is ridiculous. That is ridiculous.
I also think Mike McDaniel is one of the best coaches in the league. I think he's proven that.
Yeah.
With the talent around him, he is actually maximizing their talent. Unlike a lot of coaches in this league, he's actually doing it. And there's not many coaches you could say that besides like Andy Reid, So
yeah.
I think he's legitimately maximizing the talent around that offense, including Tua. A lot of people were talking crap about Tua for many years before he entered that, or he joined that team. So I think Tua's, pretty good now.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. But those are the rankings, at least going into week 1. We'll also come back and make some more episodes about, just regular power rankings. I think those would be fun. Get everybody's opinion on it. We'll go through it, have a nice little vote off or something. Diving into a question that I think a lot of people, I guess, the one person we're all in contact with that's a Pittsburgh Steelers fan will probably have a lot to say about this question. But if Brandon Ayuk is traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers, where does he rank in your eyes, fantasy-wise? Where do you think he is? Do you think he's better than what he did in San Francisco? Or do you think he's going to be worse than what he did in San Francisco if he gets traded to Pittsburgh?
I personally think that it's going to be – I mean, with any of these wide receivers, you have to look at, first and foremost, who's going to be throwing them the ball. Just Brandon Ayuk fantasy aspect. Don't think about Justin Fields, Russell Wilson. I just want to hear Brandon Ayuk.
I would say, I'm saying worse too.
I'd say worse.
I mean, we're going from Shanahan to Mike Tomlin. I mean, and who did Pittsburgh Steelers get as their offensive coordinator again? I'm just saying in general, the Steelers have not been good offensively for many years now, and to assume that, like, they're gonna maximize his talent, I think it's crazy. They have so many controversies right now with who they're gonna choose quarterback one already, and they're we. I think we all can agree that we don't think the Steelers are going to be that good this year. I think we can all agree on that. So I don't think Ayuk is going to suddenly put up better numbers than what he was doing with the 49ers. I just don't see it happening.
I'm not going to agree with you about the Steelers not being good this year. I think they'll be good
I
if
think
they
they'll
can
be
figure it out in
mediocre.
the right way.
Yeah. Well,
I think if they figure it out in the right way with Pickens, Najee, Warren, and whoever the hell is going to be the quarterback, Fields or Russ, if Ayuk's there, they have to figure it out with Freiermuth and that great of a defense.
Yeah, and me saying they're not going to be good is not saying they're going to be like 5-win team. Like no, they'll be maybe a 500 or a game below 500 team this year, which for their standards is not good. So that's why I'm saying they won't be good.
Good. Well, you just said he's going to be worse, right?
Yeah, I think he's going to be worse. I mean, he's going to have his welcome call to the AFC North. I think it's the most physical division in football. You know, every yard is tooth and nail up there with all four teams. So I think just from that standpoint alone, it's going to be hard for anyone to come in that division year one and produce as much as he did in San Francisco. So just based on how I've seen the division over the past, however many years I've been a Bengals fan, I think that's just going to be worse.
And Arthur Smith is their OC, and Arthur Smith ran the ball like crazy last year, and
yeah,
and I mean, he was also OC for the Titans. And I don't have the stats in front of me, but I know the Titans had a good year when he was OC at one point. They were really good offensively. But seeing what he did with the Falcons and not really maximizing their talent at receiver, even Pitts. We talk about Pitts and how we didn't utilize that talent, with the Falcons. I don't know if he's gonna really help Ayuk's case if he does go there. So that's what I think.
Hey, if you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan and he goes there, I'm happy for you. But I don't think he's going to be any bit better than Deontay Johnson was last season or how he was with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Logically, I don't think so. But hop on in, go in the comments, and prove me wrong. Anyway, going right into our next topic of interest, or at least I want to hear your opinions. I'm going to give out a name. And this name will be solidified for the list of other players I will be saying to compare them. You guys either say yay or nay to if this player is better than the other, statistically or athletically. So in this sense, we can go with who would you rather have on your squad, Malik Neighbors or Garrett Wilson? Right now.
I mean, I'm saying Malik just because of talent. I think Garrett Wilson.
Well, you think Garrett
but
Wilson?
I'm being biased.
Yeah, I'd say Garrett Wilson, dude. It's just, Garrett Wilson. He's done it.
Just seeing
it.
in one preseason game, Malik Neighbors has caught some of the most insane balls that I don't think even 5 receivers in this league can do. So if you guys go look and see the highlights of Malik Neighbors catching some balls in the Texans game, Garrett Wilson cannot do that. He cannot do that. He cannot catch any ball that's around him. And that's what Malik Neighbors is able to do. He can catch any ball within his radius. So,
but for you to say that you want to have Malik Neighbors over Garrett Wilson, and Garrett Wilson has shown a lot being a Jet.
Has he?
That's a lot crazy.
Has he shown a lot?
I mean, offensive rookie of the year.
We'll see how he does this year. But
that was a little wild, but I get it.
I'd be just look at talent alone. Malik Neighbors is a way more talented receiver. I mean, drafted higher, better numbers in college. I mean,
okay, yeah. Let me flip this to Will. T. Higgins or Terry McLaurin?
And he would play he'd be like wide receiver too.
Yep, T. Higgins or Terry McLaurin. Matt, you can say anything too. Would you rather have T or Terry?
Oh, I'm taking T. Higgins. Higgins.
I would
bigger,
say
Just
I would say T Higgins over the long run.
just bigger target.
I mean,
I don't know.
big,
He's just
bigger
they're very
target.
similar.
They are very similar. That's why it's a very tough question. I would say, I would, yeah. You know what? Being a Bengals fan, I gotta go with my guy, dude. I would say T Higgins. Yeah, like I said, just a bigger target. He can catch a lot of balls. I mean, let's be real here. If T Higgins, if and when, I mean, he almost did this year. If and when he does leave the Cincinnati Bengals, I mean, he's gonna get wide receiver one money anywhere else he goes, pretty
Yeah.
much. He's been that way since he was catching balls from T Law down at Clemson. He's always been a big time guy. I think that he's a sure target. He's helped us and bailed us out in so many times. But that being said, Terry McLaurin's also a great player, but I have to rock with my boy, dude. I got to rock with T here.
I'm going to go Terry McLaurin because he's much faster, has more of a vet experience, and I just personally like Terry McLaurin. Nothing against T. Higgins. I just think Terry McLaurin is that dog. I'm not going to lie. I love Terry McLaurin. Anyway, going back to you, Matt, Malik Neighbors or Jordan Addison?
Oh, now you're just trying to start something.
No.
You know,
No.
dude,
This is
no way
this
Malik.
is purely.
No way you choose Addison over Malik right now. Come on, dude. Malik Neighbors is considered one of the best wide receivers to come out. Him and Marvin are like Jamar Chase level receivers coming out of the draft. I mean, we got to start putting him where he does, like giving him the recognition he deserves. Like that is the type of tier I'm talking.
But
with Malik
on the
Neighbors.
Giants, though, all right. I mean, we can go into this.
Forget quarterback. Forget quarterback. I mean, if we're talking purely receivers, I'm putting Malik Neighbors in the same category as Jamar Chase, which is just below Justin Jefferson, and that's just how I feel. Like I truly feel that way.
That's fair enough. And then, well, I guess the last one for you, since we're kind of pushing time right now. I guess you could say T. Higgins or Keenan Allen.
T, all day, bro.
T. Higgins over Keenan.
Yes, 100%.
I think right now I could go T. Higgins. Right now, I would go T. Higgins.
Yeah,
if this was like 2 years ago, then no.
I was just about to say, dude, if this was like 2 or 3 years ago, I would say Keen, but
you really have a lot of hope for your boy, don't you?
I do, bro, because if you look at the numbers and look what he's done on Cincinnati so far, like I said previously, dude, if he goes anywhere else, he's gonna get receiver one money. I mean, it's not a question. He's proven it time and time again. So I
Okay, so then how about this? Botching this. This goes for both of you. Puka Nacua over Malik or T. Higgins.
Yeah, well, that's tough. I love Puka. I think Puka's a beast.
I do too. I think Puka's an absolute dog too. I mean, look, it obviously depends who you already have. I mean, putting Puka Nacua as a wide receiver 2 behind Jamar Chase would be crazy. I mean, I guess, yeah, from stats alone, yeah, sure, I would go Puka Nacua. But I mean, then you have to think about what kind of production is he going to get sitting behind a player like Jamar Chase.
I'm still going Malik, but Puka's up there.
Honestly, if you give me Puka, yeah, I'd take right now. Sure, I'll take Puka over T. Sure.
Puka, yeah, I'd take Puka over T, but not Puka over Malik. But still, I think there's more to come for both Puka and T. I think they still have more to prove. So you never know. I think after the season, we'll answer a lot of these questions as well.
Oh, yeah. This is what gets us juiced up.
Oh, yeah.
But either way, I think that was a good little, logistics and analytics right there from both of you. Thanks for that. Puka Nacua, whatever his name, Pokemon, Pikachu, whatever you want to call him. I think we have lots to talk about going into week 1. We have yet to hear any of the over/under totals for the season records that my equation. Sorry, I can't speak right now. My equation predicted.
You're good.
As well as the week 1 predictions for winners, correct scores, and spreads. That will probably be tuning in for the next episode that we have. But yeah, appreciate you all for watching and tuning in onto our pod again. And yeah, see you on the next one, homies.
Peace.